Greetings, geeks. Welcome to episode 476 of Geeks in Space. I am Rob Commander Taco Malda, and I am joined today in pretend low Earth orbit by two of the greatest geeks that you're ever going to meet. I got a Chris DeBona.
Hey, everybody.
And we got a Rob Roseboom.
That's me.
I'm glad that we're straight on our names. There's no conflict there.
I have to finish this email. I'm doing an expense justification for a large for Google, so it's very important that I don't mess this up because.
Are you expensing two of those 49-inch widescreen LG monitors that are accidentally going to ship to my house? Because that's on the list.
I wish.
No,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, they had a video that we were talking about this in the channel yesterday, and it was the I can never go back Linus Tech Tips or whatever, and he's stacked two 49-inch monitors at his desk.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that my desk would not actually even structurally handle that much weight.
Well, you'd be surprised how much steel and wood can handle, so.
That's
Let me
true.
see if I can find it.
Although, if I were to clip it to the back of my desk with like a VESA mount arm, I am afraid it would get like weighted heavy on one side and just flip over.
Why is he staggering them like that?
He doesn't in the video when he actually sets it up. But I'm not actually sure if that's the video where he sets it up. I might have shared the wrong one. And it doesn't really matter. But it's just we were talking about monitors yesterday, and I was like, that's what I would do. If the universe just said you have to spend $4,000 on display technology, I would get a couple of those and like a 2080 Ti or something.
Sure.
But
or multiple 2080 Ti's.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah. I thought that bridging GPUs was dead now, though, man.
No, I know, but you should have two, right?
That's
one
true.
For your CUDA-ing for RTX, audio and other machine learning services, and one for just gaming.
Doing a lot of machine learning services. I didn't put it onto the taco zone, but I actually saw an interesting machine learning story earlier today where a guy was generatively building like lakeside cottages for rendering in I don't remember what he was rendering them in, but it was really neat because they looked kind of like Hobbit, like Lord of the Rings cottages, like weird architecture, falling apart, woods and stuff, and it was cool. That's what I would do with dual GPUs. I swear, I wouldn't just use it to try to render videos faster.
I'd be really proud of you if you created like a generative, Geeks in Space plan using AI and machine learning. Then we could just watch our avatars do this for us.
That would
we have enough. I mean, 470 what episodes?
476,
we have enough data.
Man.
We could totally feed a system, and it can auto generate us sitting around random backgrounds. Every once in a while, Kristen will walk by in the background. I mean, it'd be great.
Right.
Yeah, every now and then it just sort of goes onto a tangent about CW shows and their relative quality.
and I got to be honest with you, I'd love to read what RobBot would have to say for the first few days until it gets perfected.
Yeah. The problem is that I think RobBot would have a glitch and it would like blend us because machine learning takes a few million iterations before it gets it right. So it would just be like the Rob's bot. Let's see. What do we got? We actually have tons of funny stuff today. The episode title is Billy Mitchell's Not My Lover, because Billy Mitchell, the King of Kong, maybe,
Billy Mitchell
is back in the news. Guinness reinstated his world record. They had experts look at his video, and I think it's still clear that he cheated on some stuff.
There it is.
But I think that he's been reinstated as being the first person to get the big score in Donkey Kong.
He still looks like a complete chode.
Is he still wearing the American flag tie?
Yeah,
absolutely.
The American flag tie.
Wow.
There you go. I put it on the screen.
Billy Mitchell's not my lover. He's just a guy who likes to play Pac-Man.
Is the guy on the right the ref guy, the
Yeah.
one who took his?
Yeah. And
why do I know this?
well, first of all, you've probably seen that movie, but also you might have seen Wreck-It Ralph, because the arcade owner in Wreck-It Ralph is very clearly modeled on that guy, which I absolutely adore.
Yeah. That's really funny.
Wreck-It Ralph was like really
surprisingly
well done
good
for its references.
Yeah.
So I guess
I was surprised I liked it. I was ready to really not like that movie, and when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is pretty good.
The second one actually has Cory Doctorow credited in the thank yous.
Yep.
I was like, wow, way to go, man. I don't know what you did for that movie, but that's cool.
So is it true that if you look into an unplugged video game machine and say Billy Mitchell's name 3 times, he appears?
Yep.
Or
Billy Mitchell, Billy Mitchell, Billy. Ah! Yeah.
Nice tie. I didn't cheat. You want to buy some hot sauce?
Want to buy some hot sauce? Yeah, he's got his hot sauce on the table there. Oh.
Of course he does.
Why do I know this?
That dude is all about branding.
Yeah.
I mean,
should sell like helmets for hair like that. You know?
You got to give him credit. I mean, he figured out a shtick and he rides it. You know, good on him.
Yeah. I mean, it's his thing. He's making it happen. So.
All right, let's see. Ian Holm, the original Bilbo. He died at 88.
And also the original Napoleon, right? In Time Bandits.
And Alien.
That's right. He was an alien. He was Mother's son. I don't know. Yeah.
Mother's brother's nephew.
Yeah.
Hard to keep track of all that.
Yeah.
I always thought it was weird. I always thought it was weird how they used both actors to portray him in the Hobbit trilogy. But I guess in the list of things that were incorrect about the Hobbit trilogy, having 2 actors play Bilbo in different eras was the least of my concerns.
Yeah. Hey, where'd it go?
It's lost forever, man.
No.
So there's a fun story about a chess grandmaster who now plays chess on Twitch. And the whole article is just about how Twitch is beginning to like have chess as an actual game, which kind of makes me excited because I'm really looking forward to like Twitch cribbage, maybe Twitch sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, did he really? I know he's probably a grandmaster. That's not what I'm asking. But did he really change all of Twitch, or are they still just playing CS:GO and Fortnite and PUBG obsessively? Got hooked. Hooked implies a double-digit percentage of Twitch is just playing chess now, which I don't think is true.
He undoubtedly greatly increased the amount of people who watch chess on Twitch.
The way they should say
that's
this
what I'm saying.
There was a 900% increase in chess use on Twitch because it went from 1 to 9 people, or I guess it would have to be an even number, right? Because you'd have people streaming both sides, so
I don't know, man. If you see both sides, though, then you don't you get like couldn't you cheat? Like, couldn't you watch your opponent's Twitch stream to figure out their strategy?
That's not how chess works.
Oh.
It's not like what's the one with Stratego?
Oh, Stratego.
Right? Now Twitch Stratego, that's the future.
Let's do it. We should figure out. We should have 2 competing Twitch streams and then playing Stratego, but then make the people that are watching help you cheat.
That's a great idea. That is a great idea.
That would actually make for a funny like YouTube sketch video sort of thing. I think you could.
I mean, you all can do that. I can't because we're not in the same room, right? How do you make it work, across, 2,000 miles of fiber cable, right?
I mean, you use this thing called Twitch.
No, because I guess that would make, but the problem is I'd have to set up your Stratego army the same way you did, and you'd have to set up yours the same way I did it. So we need a ref, a guy, sort of like the guy who took Billy Mitchell's crown, to set up the board for us and then to move pieces for us.
I mean, I don't know that you'd have to make it that difficult. Because all you have to do is take a photo of your layout at the start.
Yeah, but you'd have to have a third party. I couldn't send my
true.
photo to you if I'm
That's
playing you. I'd send it to Robert. Robert would have to set up the board. So we could do this remotely. We could have 3 people, right? Robert's the board master. You're one side, blue, say. I'll be red, or vice versa.
You're not
I don't
judging.
have a position.
You're not judging.
I'm not judging.
But you're voting for Trump.
We got to take red back, man. We got to take red back for America, for freedom.
They ruined an entire segment of the color spectrum.
Well, I have to tell you, I really like red. Red's a great color, right? But you can't use it. I mean, it's like I was never a baseball cap person, but people who really, really like baseball caps, no more red baseball caps. Not going to happen.
I gotta tell you, man.
Being ironic or something.
I gotta tell you, man. You live in California. It is way different here.
Yeah. Do you actually see a number of Trump hats in the Michigan area?
Oh yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say a number, but it's not uncommon.
It's not 0.
Right.
Let me put it this way: if
you're in Ann Arbor, man.
So I live in between the liberal town. And like Ann Arbor's the edge of liberal land. In
People's
Michigan.
Republic of Ann Arbor.
If I go west anywhere beyond Ann Arbor, or really north anywhere of Ann Arbor, if I go to Pinckney, which is north of Ann Arbor, then they'll just be MAGA hats out.
Yeah. North for sure.
Can you spell Pinckney? Is it Pinknee or is it like Pinckaney? I mean, spell that for me, please.
That was the correct one, I believe.
The second one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, what's trickier when you get local, and this is the litmus test. But Chris, spell pronounce SALINE.
SALINE.
How do you pronounce it?
SALINE. Saline, right?
And Rob, how do you pronounce the town?
It's Celine.
Celine, like the moon. Okay.
Or like
Dion. That's okay. I mean, people have been calling, Houston, in New York.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff happens.
That's fair.
My mom refused to call Bowie, Maryland, Bowie, Maryland. She always called it Bowie. And I was like, why are you calling it Bowie? It's spelled Bowie. And it didn't make any sense to me.
I lived, or when we worked in Boston all the time, there's Worcester.
Worcester.
And like, there's no place where that is spelt like it is pronounced. It's just not even close.
Well, I mean, how is that spelled? Because like Leicester Square in London. The first time I went to London, I was like Leicester. So
I hate language. I hate it.
I love it, but I would like
to
take the color red back for people who aren't Trump fans. So I don't know. That's what I wanted to say.
I mean, that's fair, but
I
really
think I'm
want to
be successful.
I want America to just all agree to be purple. Let's meet in the middle and just be chill.
Anyways, so Twitch, chess, great.
Chess.
What's next?
There's a pretty interesting article on Maze, 1973 gaming graphics sort of thing. They used vector graphics, the first version of it. One thing that I really liked, they said the first version of it, the way you saved maps was you just had a text file, and each character in the text file essentially was a tile on a piece of grid paper, and they had like a control character and a not control character, and that was how you made mazes. So they could just make mazes and load it into it. And then there's the story in there about how it was one of the earliest ARPANET implementations, and it would take down whole networks because people would play Maze, ruin their networks. Decades ahead of Doom.
I like how they had to ban it because so many people were playing it.
Yeah, my nephew is actually going to go to the same high school, Homestead. This is cool.
Is there any videos in there? That was the one thing. Like, there was a lot of picture, but I didn't catch if there was a video.
Let's see what I can find. I'm trying to. So my monitor's up here. I'm not just like, stoned or whatever here.
There's no judgment.
No,
man.
a bunch of ads. Add. I want to spend time reading this. This looks like a great article.
It is. It's interestingly done, and I didn't know really anything about it. One of the guys who contributed a bunch of code was it Dave Liebling, the guy who went on to write Zork.
Yeah.
It's weird how.
I bet you Don Woods is in here too. Woods.
It's weird how there just were certain places that were nexuses of that kind of stuff. The right combination of the right smart people and the access to the right technology, and like multiple things, like a first-person shooter and the invention of text adventures. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh! So can I just say this picture here with the grid paper and the maze?
Yeah.
I cut down a forest with grid paper, doing dungeons and drawings and the rest for D&D when I was a kid. Man, takes me back. And like when I would first start to program, I would map out my programs in handwriting, which was terrible, by the way. And like data sets like this, it's just man, wow, this takes me back. Old programming.
Right.
Oh my gosh, Xanth software named for.
I don't know who Xanth is.
You know this one. Xanth is the magical world of Florida in the Piers Anthony novels. Remember Piers Anthony's interview on Slashdot, the hilarious one?
Nice.
Anyway, because he was, let's just say, concerned with young women a bit too much, a bit too young. So
I read a lot of those books when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, no, I read all of them. So until I got old enough to say, wow, this is actually really inappropriate.
Right.
So anyways, this is a great article. I'm going to read this article, but not right now.
No, because you're hanging out with us. We're having fun. And we want to talk about how the App Store charging 30% and has still been charging 30% after all these years is Looney Tunes and all the shenanigans that everybody does around that. It's just like, it just keeps happening. And I find that it's one of those great examples of how the internet is being like, our devices are measurably worse because of different programs or different businesses trying to work around it. And my favorite example of this was originally Comicology.
Comicology, sure.
Yeah, because in order to like the policy was that you had to pay 30% on digital goods. So buying a comic book on Comicology, Comicology would have to pay Apple 30% of my virtual comic book. So you would have to like bookmark it and then go to the Comicology app and then add it to your shopping cart and buy it. It's just, talk about being anti-consumer, and 30% is just Looney Tunes. And I'm right on with this guy. Highway robbery indeed, antitrust committee chair.
Well, it's even worse than that, because it's not just the expense, which is significant, right? It's also they're extremely. Listen, we can't put a proper Chrome into the App Store because they will not allow non-Safari renderers.
Right.
So all web browsers on iOS are basically a surround around Safari because they refuse to let any other web view on the phone. It's the same thing with like a ton of technology. They're like, well, if you and they say because it impacts the user experience, and I'm like, does it? Right? It's like they force you into their applications and their world so that they can monetize you, so they can, or in there they would say, to keep you on the platform, right? To keep you on Apple's ecosystem, to protect you from that nasty old world of bad browsers. And it's like, what are you talking about, right? So this is an area that's just baffling to me. And the thing is, they don't go after them because they say they're not a monopoly, because Android has 80% of the market.
Right.
So,
80% of the market, and also 20% of the revenue. So,
well, I don't know if it's that lopsided, but
it's very lopsided.
Well, it's complicated.
Of course, it's complicated.
A complicated discussion that I'm going to. Oh, look, my phone.
Oh, look at that! You got a text message when you know I'm right
on my Pixel 3 XL. What do you know?
All right, so there's another one on there that's really weird. Zombie satellites. return from the graveyard, and essentially this is a story about setting up satellites to like fix other satellites that are actually in geosynchronous orbit, so real high orbits.
Yeah, they're mechanics. They're little robot mechanics.
It seems like that's the exact opposite of what happened at the beginning of Space Force.
I was going to say, inspired by Space Force?
Chris, you should watch the first episode of Space Force just because the last 30 seconds of it, you're like, oh, this isn't the show I thought it was going to be. Like, at all.
So this thing basically gives them a refuel, or they desaturate their gyros or something. What do they do?
I think it was. I think it was meant to be more of a jack of all trades hypothetical kind of thing. They talked about how when satellites are supposed to be decommissioned, they're supposed to go up 300 extra kilometers to get out of the way, but they don't really do that very well. So I think there's a cleaning up crowded space thing. There's a repair thing. There's a getting you back into alignment thing. I think it's a less specific.
Space garbage truck.
There's the drop off of beer at the space station thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting about this, so you might remember we talked about Starlink a number of episodes ago, and the possibility of them kicking off a Kessler syndrome when they get enough objects in that level of space that are both dead and not deorbiting, and so they're just sort of bouncing around at 600 kilometers up, right?
This is the picturing like right?
Yeah, basically. I'm picturing some like really like aggrieved, probably unhinged satellite guy running one of these things. He's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a geosynchronous satellite. I'm just going to send it through 600 kilometers. I'm going to deorbit it into the Earth and just like swipe away satielites.
Right. I was told that I could listen to my radio at a reasonable volume. I could burn this whole place to the ground.
I don't. I had a stapler and now I'm down in the basement. I'm not happy. I'm going to burn this place to the ground. Yeah. So Milton. Love Milton.
All right. And the last one that I had on the list was the Clam filters. McGarry found the link. McGarry is in general.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Nice to see him.
I saw that the other day. So I thought it was him.
But
which one is it? Wait, what are we looking at?
Oh, I had Clam filters. We can talk about the blowing bubbles too. This is one of Rob's, right?
No. I must have opened it.
Yeah.
First person shooter, taco zone.
Get to the zone, the taco zone.
Clam filters. What's a clam filter? Is
there
that like
go.
A filter feeder? Oh, yeah. So this is actually inspired by you, Rob and Rob. Well, not you, but your Great Lakes. So the zebra mussel comes into the Great Lakes, right? Before that, the Great Lakes were considered really pretty darn polluted, pretty toxic, right? Then the zebra mussel shows up, starts filtering your whole darn lakes. What's that look? You're like, do you doubt my zebra mussel story?
Yeah.
Oh.
And also, not entirely true, but that's okay.
But I'm talking, rolling, man. We're trying to fill 30 minutes of riveting airtime.
Wait. So they're just using clams to like,
it's like
a magnet to them?
It's like
way more Brazil.
It's canary in the coal mine is what it is, but it's for water using clams.
I thought that they were using them as filter feeders to clean their water. Why are they not letting the clam be a clam? Why do they have to turn a clam into a doorbell or whatever the heck they're doing here?
Because it turns out you need lots and lots of clams to effectively clean pollutants.
That's why you need a really good invasive species like the zebra mussel and how it cleaned the Great Lakes.
But okay.
Made Lakeshore Drive in Chicago like you could drive down it without smelling, I don't know, Michigan, so.
Nobody wants to smell Michigan, especially not Chicago. It's a cool story. It does look to me, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, it straight up looks like they just are hot gluing springs to the clams.
Well, they're putting a Hall effect sensor at the end of the thing. If they detect polluted water, clams immediately shut their shells, which triggers the alarm. Huh.
It's so low tech, it's beautiful.
It is kind of beautiful. I do wonder, like, so this is a magnet here, right? Can you see my mouse? I don't know.
Yes.
Can you? So So this is a magnet here. This is a Hall effect sensor. And then they have a wire. You can see the little stubs of the wire. So this little guy, they have him like, gum down here and all the rest. And so they have 8 of these.
Let's call him
12,
Corey.
12 of them.
Corey the Clam.
This is Corey, Doctor of the Clam.
Sure, Corey, Doctor of the Clam. His namesake.
Sure. And when he was done doing work for Wreck-It Ralph 2, he came and he did clam design.
Yep.
Anyway, so
advanced clam tech.
Advanced Clam Tech, it's his next book, Clam Tech.
Yep.
It's about a freedom-fighting clam who is found guilty of copyright infringement when his magnet ends up conducting an orchestra that is somebody else's music. Anyway.
Keep going, man.
So we have this cool clam. Since there's only 12 of them, this can work, right? This can totally work. You could monitor them. You can keep an eye on them. And, as some, I don't know, sea otter, for instance, comes to eat 1 or 2, you can replace them, and then you can find the sea otter and get the magnet out of his stomach because he's a little
What's your problem with otters, man? Don't you think they're keeping these guys in a box?
No, I love otters.
Yeah, they don't throw these
clams.
They don't throw these out in the lake or sea, Chris. These are kept in an aquarium. So you would have to introduce the otter to them to eat. It seems unlikely.
This week,
I really like sea otters. Okay.
This week on the segment where Rob and Rob explain something to Chris that Chris is willfully not paying attention to.
Wait, Mom.
So really the point of this story is that Michigan smells bad. Right, Chris? That's what we got?
Yeah, and when it smells bad, the clam hits the Hall effect sensor and a light turns on in Michigan. It says, Michigan is smelling bad. Michigan is smelling bad.
And so then they dump more zebra mussels into the lake because that's what cleaned it, not the regulation and technology.
Nope.
It's the zebra mussels.
That's right.
All right.
I just want to point out I really like sea otters. So I've actually been on Elkhorn Slough, which is where they find sea otters, and they have a sea otter cam at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Look at those cute guys.
They're playing.
They're so cute.
Why isn't that my screensaver?
Look! Here he comes! Here he comes!
Ollie, don't eat the clam. Corey's a good clam. He's just doing his best, okay?
Hey man, if Ollie's hungry, he's gonna have a clam.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And what's great is I think one of them has adopted. So they do this thing where they find sea otters that have gotten separated from their parents, and then these otters will adopt the other the baby otters, and they'll take care of them. Right. So go watch a movie. It's Otter 501. It's actually not on YouTube. It's on Vimeo. Whoa. So I must like it to recommend it, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's basically this story, and I remember showing it to my son. I'm like, and it's like you're watching it, and the kids are crying, but they're like, no, we have to see what happens to Otter 501, and like it's like Pixar times 4 level emotional to watch, like dead serious, especially if you're a parent. Like it is over the top. You'll be weeping like a baby watching this damn movie.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Sea otters adopting baby sea otters, and there's like these little sea otters and big sea otters, and man, I'm getting choked up thinking about it.
You know what I watched on Vimeo yesterday for like 2 straight hours. I didn't post the link. I tried to, and something didn't work. But I watched. Are you familiar with the 4K 77 Star Wars project?
So you mentioned this in channel.
Yeah.
I am not familiar. Is this somebody basically doing that machine learning expansion stuff on Star Wars?
It's not 4K? Even machine learning stuff. They've got 35 mil. They've got multiple 35 millimeter prints. He's got a Technicolor print and like some other prints. And I watched like 2 hours of like him like going shot by shot through like 100 different random examples of the restoration project that he's been undertaking, and it's next level awesome. Like he shows how he removes scratches and dust, and how you create transparency layers so you can pull in other prints to like fill in holes in one version. And he's been working to master this one movie for years and years, and I can't find that movie, his version of it. I can't find it. It's supposedly 80 gigs, and it's not in any of the usual places that I look.
I'm sure Disney is not thrilled that someone else is trying to put Star Wars up online. I mean, I hate to say
Oh,
it.
of
I mean,
course.
is he working at Disney? I
No,
mean,
he's just a dude.
yeah.
But I mean they shouldn't care because
Oh, come
what
on.
they're putting out, what they say is Star Wars, that special edition bullshit. Like
With
they've
Jabba and the bad effects, yeah.
Well, the main thing that I really enjoyed from watching his videos, he's really anal about color correction, and he goes through different scenes, and he's like, okay, he has a shot of stormtroopers, and he shows you the special edition version where they basically crushed all the colors to monochrome, and he's like, that's not right because if the buttons on the stormtroopers uniforms are blue, and so he color corrects the whole image in order to draw out just a little bit of the blue from the buttons, and when he does that, the whole Death Star just looks like way more like alive and real because it looks like the real colors and not like like how every movie now is orange and blue because we've color corrected the crap out of everything and applied those same sepia tone filters to everything and everything looks like crap. They did that.
Hey man, you're the one with the Tron Legacy era Flynn behind you. I mean, don't talk to me about modern day aesthetics. You could have a proper Flynn's arcade.
That's true. I could.
Yeah.
All right. We had two others that we can get on the list. We've got the Baldur's Gate thing and the soap bubbles thing. The soap bubbles thing was you, Rob, right?
Well, yep. Yeah. We don't have to worry about the bees dying anymore. We just need, probably 3 or 4 billion more people with little containers of bubbles to blow on all of our wildflowers and fruit, because they found now bubbles can pollinate certain plants. So there we go. Science solved a problem again.
So, this is like, that scene in The Matrix where they're like, and then we use people for batteries, Well, yeah. This is sort of like saying, okay, so all we need is a lot of soap and a billion, kids with those like bubble wands, right? But what you realize very quickly is that they have to be very well calibrated bubble blowers, with the pollen inside the soap film. So we actually need a billion kids who just know how to pull pollen and put it inside the soap film. And then you realize, wait a second, we have too many people, right, for the amount of food that we can make in this process. So, but where are we going to get the soap from? Well, you get soap from rendering fat in the presence of lye and hydroxa, the salt derivative. Anyway, so what you do is we wait for the kids to die, probably from malnutrition, right? And then you render them into soap bubbles that can be then used Snowpiercer-like to create more food. So, circle of life.
And then the clams rise up
and throw off the oppressive sea otter regime.
Yeah. Shake off the hot glue.
I'm just saying, I can see this working at scale, but it wouldn't be a good scale. It would be really scary and horrible and dystopian. So.
Well, and you would have to be everywhere too, right?
Yeah, everyone would have to agree that this is the path forward.
So. Yeah, you would get assigned a grid space at birth, and that's where you would go live, blowing bubbles on plants so that the planet doesn't die. Doesn't really seem like it would work, but
keep blowing.
In a pinch.
When fired from a bubble gun, the delicate soapy spheres achieved a success rate of 95%. And I'm like, that is a very specific kind of success, isn't it? Like, you picture, like, there's probably drugs involved. They're like, hey, what if we tried to pollinate flowers with, like, bubbles?
That'll work way better than the last 73 things we tried. All right, the last one we had on the list, the Baldur's Gate presentation. Rob, you seem to be the one most into that.
I liked the little trailer because it delved into a lot of sort of D&D lore from way back in the day, and had one of the Mind Flayer Spelljammer ships. Spelljammer was D&D's attempt to put the medieval role-playing game into space. And it was absolutely terrible. But they actually made good use of one of the ships here in this little trailer. The actual gameplay, the actual gameplay, I don't really care about. It looks like any other sort of game. But this little trailer was pretty good.
A lot of Cthulhu in this one.
It's a mind flayer, so yeah.
Oh, mind flayer,
yeah. Kind of like an ood.
So it's only an hour and 47 minutes. I'm sure it's a wonderful use of your time.
No, it's mostly just a dude playing it.
Yeah, this whole thing is like 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
See, there's the Spelljammer ship.
Yeah.
Watch the opening cinematic. Watch 2 minutes of the guy running around playing a game, which looks, like, it just looks like. I guess to its credit, it looks like what you think a D&D game should look like.
And here come the Githyanki riding red dragons to fight him.
Honestly, if they have dragons, I'm there. I love that stuff.
They're mortal enemies of the Mind Flayer.
Aren't we all mortal enemies of the Mind Flayer? I mean, they're gonna mess us up.
No.
I'm just gonna keep watching the dragons come. Woo, woo, yee-hoo.
I don't think we'd get a copyright strike for showing their commercial, would we?
Well, no. I mean, you know how it is. That's why you only show the same thing over and over.
Oh,
again.
yeah.
There's a bunch of review channels that do this.
Yeah, I hate that so much.
It's really annoying.
The only thing I hate more than that are the ones that just every week post the same story but with no new information, as if there's new information. Like, I probably see on a weekly basis a story about Kevin Feige's Phase 4 announcements for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and there never is any new information. It's just like the same video with like some new stuff wrapped around it. Makes me angry.
Well, I'm with you. So like Screen Rant does this a lot. There's a bunch of people who do this where they're like, let's analyze the new trailer for, Spider-Man 3 or whatever, and it's like, wait, there was a new trailer? No, there wasn't. This is the same. You guys are just being jerks.
Yep.
So
they have enough. Once you get enough followers on the YouTubes, you can just perpetually climb your way back to the top by posting stories with keywords in it. That's why we need to mention Elon.
We've been.
Oh yeah.
That's why we have all our follow. The 93 subscribers.
We're
just down one. We're down one.
Yeah. Oh, down 2
Who
now.
Unsubscribed is my question. Are we at 92 now?
Yeah, the Clam fans. They left. Ah, snap! Well, that was Geeks in Space. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Rob. Bye.